This video is about the Chinese military K-4 military telegraph key, or Morse code, or CW key, depending on what terminology you want to use on it. Hams use it for Morse code these days. Anyhow, the most recent one I bought came in pieces, which I'm surprised because that's what my friend Trish, a fellow ham, had told me, that his came in pieces. That was pretty shocking. So it comes like this with a base. They have nicely redone this with a vinyl cord instead of the old military cloth covered cord, and they've put a new jack on the end of it, and very nice. Anyhow, the only thing that I found different was that my buddy may have gotten a key that had a problem, because the contact point right here, this contact point on his, was not swaged in there properly, and it came loose. This one feels pretty solid in there, but that's the last thing you'd want, is to have a contact loose while you're trying to send Morse code characters. Nobody would know what the heck you were sending. So anyhow, it comes with the bar, the contact bar with the Navy style knob on it, traditionally used like this, and these pieces. And what you notice is underneath this contact bar there is a wire with a lug on it, and this little lug goes to a screw on the base right here, because that's what you're making contact with underneath this insulator piece. This is electrically connected, and then it makes contact. So basically the assembly goes something like this. You have to take this screw out, and then use it to make the contact. I'm going to bring it down and turn it just a little bit sideways, like so. Whoops. Okay, so there it is. The screw is being held in by the lug. Tilt it in like that. And then don't do what I just did, but you take it, and your goal is to get that lug properly pinned down for the electrical connection. It is definitely a little on the cockeyed side to get this in there, but not too horrible. And you tighten that down, and that makes the electrical connection from this block to this shorting bar or transfer key. Okay, at that point, now you have to add the pivot points. The pivot points are interesting. On these, they've put little indents on the end of this shorting bar, and you want to make sure you put the tension spring in as well. So this little round indent holds the base of this tension spring in place. What you want to do is, we'll start these first just to get them roughly close. Now, on some of the American-made keys, the J38s, and even the keys we used to buy at Radio Shack in the 1970s, had ball bearing points where the shorting bar would pivot and just make it glide as smooth as glass. You just wanted it to be able to pivot smooth. And so this is your tensioning adjustment. So what you're trying to do is you're getting this tensioning adjustment where that pin goes down through the center of the spring. Okay, and you can see where the contacts are over each other. So I will do that now. I'll bring this down, and I'll push down on it slightly to get these pins aligned. You can feel the indents. They do go in, and you want to center it as much as you can. And try not to blunt the pointy part of those screws, because that is what has now replaced the old bearings. So by using a point like that, they reduce the friction. So just trying to feel that in there. That seems a little far in there, but okay. Then we'll bring this down, and bring this up. Got to be able to get low enough in the cradle to where it will fit into those holes on both sides. There we go. Now I'm going to kind of adjust it to center. You can see a little uneven, not critical, so take that one out. I'm going to turn the other one in. Make sure I'm still down the center of that spring. Okay, turn that one in. Feel it. There we go. I want to feel it seat in that little indent for it. Let's try this, turning both at the same time, a little bit at a time. Okay, so now I have this centered from side to side. That just helps to get the contacts. You're trying to get these contacts here to align in this axis. I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but you're trying to get those to align in the other axis because that's what makes the contact. So I'll make them as even as possible. Then once you have them even, these are locking screws here. This just makes sure that they don't come loose while you're operating and have it fall apart like what you just saw there. Now this is very coarsely. This would be a joke to send CW on. I've never seen an operator with that much slack in it. So the way you take the slack out is in back, there's this screw, and as you adjust that screw, you'll notice, watch how the contacts go as I adjust this screw. It just brings the contacts closer and closer and closer. Of course, eventually they'll touch. Now, I like to have almost just a very small, okay, too small. It's continuously shorted and keyed. So you bring it up, and this is just adjusted to personal preference. There's no, I've heard people talk about getting these, for measuring spark gap. The gap in a spark plug micrometer type sheets, and it doesn't have to be that spec. It's your personal preference. If you're a heavy-handed CW operator, light-handed, everybody's got their differences, and that changes with age. I've seen, sadly, operators who have gotten Parkinson's or other issues, and they get the jitters, and they need that gap bigger. So this gap here feels just about perfect to me, right there. So then I use this screw to lock that down into place. And now I set it down and I just give it a feel. See, I think I could actually still stand that gap to be a little tiny bit smaller. So I'll loosen that locking screw, bring it down a little bit, lock it again. Believe it or not, that's actually about how I like it right there. You can see how close that gap is on that. That's about where the majority of operators will run right in there. And anyhow, so there you go. Now the only other adjustment left on here is this over the spring. And what that does, that once again goes to personal preference, how heavy-handed you are. If it's way out, it doesn't take a lot of pressure to push that key down, very little. If you're very heavy-fisted, as we say, you turn it in very, very tight and you put some tension into that spring. Now it takes a lot of pressure. You're not going to accidentally tap that down. That takes a lot of force to bring this down now. So that's all personal preference. As a matter of fact, I would say, all of these adjustments on the key are personal preference, but you do want to follow form so that it doesn't fatigue you. My only complaint at this point is the base seems to be a little unlevel. I can wobble it in this axis. If I press in the back corner. I don't know if you can quite see that, but the key does have a wobble to it on the base. Let me... So I'm not sure I like that. I may do something with the bottom felt pad here that the Chinese installed. I may actually put some good old Heathkit type American rubber feet on the bottom of this so that it grips the desk. But it's certainly a very solid key. It's a pretty key, nicely chromed and polished. I gotta say, it is attractive. You know, and a lot of guys that collect keys, I don't know how collectible this will be because there's millions of them coming out of China right now. I'll be dead before this is a collectible item. But anyhow, so there you go. There's your Chinese military key, fully assembled and adjusted. Feels good. Feels very, very nice. Let me hold it down here. And just for kicks, I didn't think to do this before the video. I think I'm going to see if I can Mickey Mouse a little oscillator into this real quick. Let me try to pause this video temporarily. Okay, I am back and I've actually hooked up the key to a code practice oscillator just for kicks. So here we go. Well, I am rusty, but the key is just sweet as could be. Very nice. All right, there's the video. Hope you enjoy it. And big thumbs up, Tris. I hope you're blazing CW out of your station soon. Have fun.